Welcome back to the Bitcoin Treasuries podcast. I'm Tim Kotzman. I'm here with Samir Jane,
Hello.
the managing director at Orange Group Advisors. Samir, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Big fan.
How does it feel to be in the Bitcoin studio in New York City?
It is surreal. I'm a New Yorker, so that part is very palatable and normal. But being in these studios, being a fan and a watcher, is absolutely surreal. It's a foot in sort of two different worlds. So it's very cool.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background? Did you grow up in New York?
No, I'm actually Canadian. So I grew up in Canada, went to school there, kind of did my degree in finance. So New York was naturally a place I always sort of saw myself getting into. Was very focused on Wall Street, and that was my first job many years ago. We won't say how long ago, but it was many years ago.
Okay.
And I started out in banking. So I did investment banking for a few years. Was much more interested in actual equities. So ended up being a research analyst covering casinos and hotels for another 5 or 6 years, but spent the bulk of my career investing. So I was managing a portfolio at a large Swiss bank, investing in consumer and technology companies, never directly, in the Bitcoin space, because that sort of predated that a little bit, but a long tenure in investing. Spent some time in corporate doing IR, treasury, a bunch of stuff, which was sort of a natural segue to where I am today.
And where are you today?
Yeah.
You're at Orange Group Advisors. What is Orange Group?
Yeah, so I always sort of describe us as sort of as like IR plus. So if you think of like traditional investor relations, it's kind of being the sort of the voice and the face for a company, usually public, but oftentimes private as well, with the investor base. So that can be institutional investors, retail investors who are actually putting money into the company. But it can also be the interface with Wall Street, speaking to research analysts, speaking to banks, et cetera. So that's what we do. We're native to the Bitcoin space, which I think makes us one of one. I don't think anybody else does that. So if you think of like the core, soup to nuts of providing all the IR services, creating a narrative, creating all the documents, getting a company organized. We do all of that, but we do it with, I'd say, a little bit more intent because we're native to the Bitcoin space, so we can actually add value there. But that's sort of like the vertical that I would call traditional IR. The plus part comes around that. So similar to you, we have a large media presence, and we help companies sort of develop that on the retail side, which this industry is very unique. As someone who's invested across many, many industries, airlines, restaurants, et cetera, what I can tell you in sort of traditional finance is that the focus is on institutions. And if you have some sort of retail investor base, it's more viewed as a problem. That is completely inverted on itself in this industry. You have to have a very well-established retail investor base, and you have to have a properly formed narrative in that community, and you have to be sort of working simpatico. Otherwise, your stock isn't going to work, and we've seen that. And we don't have to name companies, but you can see, companies with multi-billion-dollar market caps which really struggle with valuation. And I would say a lot of that has to do with not having a fully formed narrative, in retail channels. So we help companies with that, and then over on the other side, with institutions. Because of our backgrounds, having spent so much time on Wall Street, et cetera, been a banker, been a research analyst, been an investor for many years, we can help companies sort of navigate that world, which is something that, it's a new industry, right? If you think of like DeFi and particularly like these companies entering into the public markets, they just don't have the long tenure and history necessarily, not all of them, but, a lot of them sort of navigating these worlds. So when you hear terms like convertible bond or ATM, et cetera, or even like negotiating term sheets, et cetera, these are sort of new events for a lot of these companies. So because of our literacy there, we can be quite helpful there as well. So I really think the full circle of what it means to be a company interacting with, the investment world, we provide those services for our companies and kind of almost hold their hands and navigate and become a real partner with them for that.
And that's a lot, right? Like from press releases, presentations, quarterly sort of items to retail and institutional. what am I missing, or what might be like underappreciated?
Yeah, I think it's I sort of, if I were to sort of distill this and take a forest for the trees perspective on this, I think the difference is, are you somebody who is providing a disconnected service to a company, or are you sort of inside the room? Do you have a seat at the table, and are you truly working in conjunction with the company? And I would sort of say the latter is what we do versus what I think in a more traditional sense, the model was the former. So it was really centered around communications, but it didn't have anything to do with having real literacy of what the company was doing. And it definitely didn't have that component of having literacy around what the company was doing. So again, raising capital, any of that stuff. I think what we provide is we provide an extension of the company. And in a lot of ways, we can be an emissary for the company. So, a company is interacting with investors. They have to have a presence at a conference or talk to them. Because of our fluency there, we can actually do that on behalf of the company, or we could sort of sit there with the company and have useful information that we can provide alongside what the company says, or we can coach the company on what it means in terms of a narrative. So I'll give you an example. In this industry right now, I think there's a lot of debate around how to value a company. Let's talk about like the treasuries. How to value a company. What does MNAV mean? If you're in traditional communications, you're just like, all right, like you tell me what to say. It's a good MNAV. It's a bad MNAV. But
don't worry about the MNAV.
Don't worry about it. The difference with us is we could really break that down and we could say, okay, look, the MNAV sort of seems to be a derivation of a price to book multiple. And, let's deconstruct that, right? So, the M, if it's the market cap of the company, well, it's just one component of how a company's capitalized. What about the debt? What about the cash balance? And the NAV really is talking about hard assets, right? So it's like one component of your three key financial statements. What about your operations, right? There's so many companies now that have a real true operating business that sits alongside their treasury business. So if you're just going to look at an MNAV, it has deficiencies in how you're capitalized outside of just your market cap. And it also has deficiencies in terms of your operating business and what is your EBITDA, or what's your cash flow, or what's the prospects of that. We can have these kind of very fulsome, nuanced conversations with our clients, and we can help them shape the narrative, because a lot of investors who are new to this industry as well. So this sort of knowledge gap, it exists all over the place. It exists in traditional finance, understanding this industry, and it sort of exists within DeFi, sort of speaking to traditional finance. I think we can be a real interpreter between all these worlds, and we can sort of fill all these gaps. And it's just, there's no real secret sauce to that. It's just experience, right? Like, do you have experience? I think if you take anybody and you give them the experience that we have, they would be equipped to do that. Our secret sauce is that we just happen to be, we take that experience and we happen to be sitting in this seat, and there really are, our contemporaries just aren't sort of equipped in the same way.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Where can people reach out to you and to Orange Group?
Thank you for asking. We are very visible. So on all socials, our emails all end at Orange Group Advisors. So Orange Group Advisors with an S. Myself, please reach out to me. It's Samir at Orange Group Advisors. We're on X, LinkedIn, etc. Yujia, the founder, Yujia at Orange Group Advisors. You can reach any of us. Chardonnay, Bitcoin Bella, who is handling lots of our retail component. You can reach out to her as well, all across X. So very accessible team.
Can you give us the quick 30-second version of Yujia's background? Sure. He's the CEO, correct?
He's the mastermind. Okay. Yeah. So he came up with the idea for this company a little under 2 years ago. So Yujia was sort of doing the same job, except at one of the prominent IR firms. And sort of his aha moment or realization was that nobody around him really understood this industry. There wasn't a motivation in traditional investor relations or communications in terms of like wanting to learn about this industry. There wasn't this curiosity. So there was a gap. Companies weren't being well served. And there was no motive to serve them well. So we decided, you know what? I can't change it from within. Why don't I just build it myself? And very quickly, our business is growing very, very fast because I think as the word gets out, it sort of sells itself. Companies realize they're being underserved by, traditional partners. Once they come over, they see, what a difference it makes when someone is literate in all these different fields and they can sort of be an advocate for you.
Awesome. Samir, thanks for the time. Thanks for being
Tim.
here in the New York studio.
Absolute
Super fun
pleasure.
in person.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bitcoin custody is evolving, and OnRamp leads this change with multi-institution custody, eliminating single points of failure. Instead of one institution or complex private keys, OnRamp secures your Bitcoin in a segregated, cold storage, multi-sig vault backed by 3 independent, institutional-grade custodians. No single custodian can move funds by themselves, providing an unprecedented level of security that traditional custody solutions simply can't match. Protected by a $100 million Lloyd's of London insurance policy, all transactions are fully auditable on-chain, never rehypothecated, and executed only at your explicit direction. This means complete transparency and control over your assets at all times. Beyond custody, OnRamp delivers comprehensive Bitcoin financial services, including lending, trading, inheritance planning, IRAs, and more. OnRamp functions as your private banking partner, coordinating key holder activity, removing technical burdens, and providing a personalized, trust-minimized experience tailored to your specific wealth preservation goals. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or an experienced holder, OnRamp's approach helps secure generational wealth with unmatched security and peace of mind. Visit onrampbitcoin.com today to learn more, sign up, or book a free consultation with their team of Bitcoin custody experts. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by StampSeed. If you're in cold storage, you know how important it is to protect your seed phrase. That's why I recommend you head over to stampseed.com and check it out for yourself. This seed phrase storage device is one solid piece of titanium. There are no loose pieces, and you can hammer your seed phrase in letter by letter. When you go to stampseed.com, use promo code TIM15 for a 15% discount across the website. That's TIM15. Join us at The Win in Las Vegas, February 23rd through the 26th, 2026 for Bitcoin for Corporations. Use code KOTZ when you grab your tickets at strategy.com, and we'll see you there. This episode is brought to you by Arch Lending, the premier provider of crypto-backed loans designed for both individual and institutional investors. At Arch, your digital assets work for you without selling them. Arch offers flexible loan options tailored to your needs. Backed by industry leaders like Morgan Creek Digital, Castle Island Ventures, and Galaxy Ventures, Arch Lending is setting a new standard in crypto-backed lending. Are you ready to unlock the potential of your crypto assets? Visit archlending.com to learn more and configure your loan today. Are you looking for comprehensive analytics on corporate Bitcoin adoption? Strategy Tracker delivers real-time insights into how companies are executing their Bitcoin strategies completely free. Monitor NAV premiums, cost basis performance, and track how corporate Bitcoin treasuries perform against the market. Upgrade to premium for just $3.99 a month and unlock exclusive benefits like detailed market rankings, real-time trading volume analysis, and advanced performance metrics for corporations embracing Bitcoin. Apply code KOTZ at checkout for 100% off your first month of premium. Strategy Tracker is your essential tool for measuring the effectiveness of corporate Bitcoin strategies. Visit strategytracker.com and gain the analytical edge in understanding the Bitcoin treasury phenomenon.